After a fun few days in Monument Valley, we're on our way now to Blanding, Utah, which is a good location relative to Natural Bridges and Canyonlands National Park. After spending the morning in Natural Bridges National Monument, we went on further to the Colorado River to Height Crossing, which was a very beautiful and scenic drive and hardly anybody there. On the way back from Height Crossing, we took an off-road excursion on a dirt road to Arch Canyon, and Lori drove most of the way in two-wheel drive, and then I drove back in four-wheel drive, which made it a little bit faster getting back, but it was a really nice trip. Hardly saw anybody. In fact, I don't think we saw anybody on that dirt road. Canyonlands National Park is really large, and as such is divided into several distant districts. The Needles district is kind of the southernmost district, and turns out it's not a real popular place to go, I guess, because there wasn't a lot of people there, which made it extra nice. On a separate outing, we went over to Hovenweep National Monument, which is almost over to the Colorado border, and it's a site filled with Indian ruins. On our way to Moab now, not a long drive from Blanding. Moab's a pretty neat little town, and it's kind of at the center of Canyonlands and Arches National Park, as well as a really well-known spot for off-roading. Just north of Moab off the main road, you can get onto this off-road trail to Gemini Bridges. The bridges are actually down in that hole, and there's two of them, hence Gemini. But there's a nice cut over, takes you all the way over to Canyonlands National Park. So Gemini Bridges off-road trail takes you into Canyonlands, and Canyonlands Island in the Sky district has a lot of scenic outlooks. This is Schaefer Trail here in the distance, which is an off-road trail. Later we would take that trip. I just couldn't leave Moab without doing it. Mesa Arch is a popular destination. A lot of photographers, a lot of people. A lot of people weren't wearing masks and they were not social distancing. And that did limit our ability and our desire to go out on the trails. As you can see, it's a steep and windy road, but it's a well-maintained road, and the views from every section of it were awesome. It's hard to see the trail, but that's the cove that we came down on Schaefer Trail. After you get down and go a few miles, there's a fork in the road, and we took Potash Trail, which is the shortest distance back to Moab. If you go to the right, you end up going on White Rim Canyon, which is an over 100-mile off-road trip, and most people take 2 days to make that. There's also this fantastic spot not far from the Thelma and Louise Point, they call it, but this is called Gooseneck. This area that we passed through is actually on private property, and that's a salt mine lake. We got up early to go to Arches National Park, And the first stop, the most popular destination, is Delicate Arch. Parking lot was full by the time we got there, and we drove to the second parking lot, took the small hike to see it, but most people were not wearing masks and they were not social distancing, so we kind of got out of there pretty quick. It had been warm, but it got a little windy in the afternoon. After a lot of fun in Moab, we headed out to Capitol Reef National Park to stay at the Fruta Campground, a little known national park, but really beautiful place. Not too many people, really nice campground. This area near the campground is a former Mormon settlement, and these orchards that were planted are over 100 years old. It's kind of a neat thing that you can actually pick the fruit and you can take whatever you want for free that you're going to consume. If you take more than that, you have to pay. As it turned out, there wasn't anything in season, so we weren't able to enjoy the fruit, but the orchards are absolutely beautiful and continue to be well maintained. As you can tell, I thought this barn with the cliffs in the background was very photogenic. About 50 yards from our campsite, and I took a lot of these pictures at dusk. They call it the Fold Loop, and it's a excursion that is half asphalt, half off-road. You do go over a mountain peak, and you can see the difference in the topography and the trees as we got up into altitude. On our way now to Bryce Canyon to the Sunset Campground in the national park. A lot of scenic outlooks on the main road through the park, beautiful views. We did also get a takeout dinner from the lodge, which was quite good, and we had a good time. The only issue was the campsite was at 8,300 feet, so we weren't sleeping very well because of the altitude. After 3 nights, we're on our way back home now and headed to Las Vegas. We stayed there one night and went on to Bakersfield and from there home. That's a huge solar plant just outside of Las Vegas, and they've added these reflectors now that give it a very eerie look. Always good to be home. We had a safe and really fun trip.